Okay, everybody, Boker Tov, good morning, Shavua Tov. We're learning all the shiur in the month of Cheshvan, Leilui Nishmas Bas Yafega Bas Yisrael, Leilui Nishmas Levi ben Yosef, and for the refuah shlema of Eliza Chana Bas Naomi, and Shoshana Yona Bas Edo. If you don't mind, someone can close the door. Thank you. All right, so you have the pages in front of you. And what's very important is a brief reminder, a shtickle reminder about how we ended last week's shiur, what was going on. And I also just want to say yesher koach for whoever did this.
It's Aliyad with the Gingy Pass. Well, the one that did the chikuy of the Rav on Purim. Namuch Israeli.
Oh, Elad. Okay. Yeah. L'chaved Mama Rachel. Okay, so I want to remind us all, and also just to say something the gadol about these classes is that even if something small mitchalchel pnima, even like if one havraka, of one moment of thinking, of attempting to look at my relationship with my children in a fresh way, in a brighter way, even if one moment of it went inside, telling you ashreichem, ashreinu, like one little turn towards one direction for 1 second can really order things in a really big way. So hold on, even if things haven't been completed yet, hold on to the things that are going in subconsciously. The last thing we learned is about when people are clearly under the assumption that when it comes to relationship between husband and wife, when it comes to those relationships, of course it's du-siach, which means it meets each other. You got to always meet each other. You got to see each other. You got to work on that kesher nafshi. Remember, it originated with a kesher nafshi. And with a child, it didn't originate with a kesher nafshi, even though you may feel you connected to the soul of your child and you know them really well. It originated by just you giving and the child receiving, and that lasts for a very long time. By some, it's longer than others. Now here's where it gets a little bit complicated and a little bit confusing. And we need to really put a lot of koach into understanding the following notion is that when a couple struggles, lo aleinu, they have some kind of base, to resort to. Because they remember when we just saw each other for who we were? Remember when we first met, the husband and the wife, when they're going through trouble? Remember when we first met? And back then it was just like we saw all these things in each other, and all we wanted to do was to know each other more, and to connect more on that. That's when it comes to a couple that may have an issue, so they could resort to that. Imagine if parents are having a fight with their child or vice versa. So it doesn't make sense to say that a child says to the parent, or that a parent says to the child, remember when we just fell in love with each other? Can we go back to that? No. Why? Because the parent fell in love with the child way before the child began to notice or to realize or to acknowledge the parent. So it doesn't work the same way. But reminding you all that every child is a tolada. This is the word we said last time. Every child is a product of a kesher nafshi. Right? Remember we were learning that last week? Every child's a product of a kesher nafshi, and therefore, it's in there too. This second level of relationship has got to be in there also, because the kid's DNA is composed of a strong kesher nafshi that existed between the parents. It's like that stamp on their neshamas that last with them forever. Yeah.
I think it's directly related with this off-topic, please don't answer me, but I was thinking about your question of why you said you didn't start the Torah with a relationship between parent and child, like with Cain and his parents. We started with Adam and Chava. But then over the week I was thinking, but doesn't the Torah really start with our relationship with Hashem? So I wasn't sure what's
the Jewish relationship starts with a person and God, Avram Avinu, yeah, but humanity doesn't necessarily.
So humanity, you're saying, begins with the Adam and Chava.
I think you would agree that humanity starts with Adam and Chava, no? Right? No? Of course you do. Everyone does, yeah. Okay, we'll get back to it if it comes up again.
There's briefly a moment where Adam and Hashem are in existence together before Chabad. There is a relationship. Yeah.
It's something that gets missed and messed up very fast also.
Yeah.
So it's not really on topic of this, but I hear, yeah. That's okay. It's good. Now, a kesher nafshi, like we're saying right now before we go back into the text, is a relationship that's built based on hakarat hanefesh. You can't have a kesher, like you could say, oh, I feel so close to that person. But if you don't get to know that person, what you're saying is not really holding that much. If you say, I feel connected to something, don't kid yourself and say, that must mean that our souls are intertwined. Or that must mean that I know. This is better. That does not mean that, oh, I must really know that person. Because kesher nafshi is when you invest to get to know that which you feel so connected to. Now, many people stop. I don't know at what point they don't push themselves to say, I'm going to go and get to know that which I feel so connected to and so drawn to. But a parent doesn't have that luxury. And we're going to learn today about what happens when you're basing your kesher to your kid. You're under the assumption it's a kesher nafshi, right? But nothing has ever driven you to say, let me get to know the nefesh of my child. Because in your mind, you're saying, I know them, right? I know them. And when a person says, oh, I know them, that's usually when a lot of mishigas begins to erupt between children and parents. And we're going to see this. This is really fascinating today. So on Daf Yud Aleph that you have in front of you, by the way, I'm working on getting copies of this farm. It's not so pashut, but I'm working on it because some of you were asking about this. Okay, so Daf Yud Aleph that you have in front of you. חשיבות הקשר ההדדי עם הילדים. המציאות מורה שמגיל 12, 13 ואילך, אפילו אם יש לילד דעת להבין שהיחס של הוריו אליו נובע מחמת אהבה, לפעמים הוא אומר לעצמו, טוב, נכון שהם אוהבים אותי ומעניקים לי, אבל לא זה מה שאני צריך. הם לא מבינים מה אני רוצה. ובלשון הכוזרי, כוונתך רצויה, אבל מעשיך אינם רצויים. This is a classic statement that we say a lot. When someone means well, but their actions aren't really what we need. What did the Mechaber say over here? He says, approximately from 12 to 13 years old, sometimes even later. Even if a kid has the das to understand that he has love for his parents and that they love him, they'll come to a conclusion and say, it's true they love me and they're giving me things, but they're not giving me what I need. They don't understand what I need. The old school would say to a parent in our grandparents' era, if a kid said, you don't understand what I need, right? What would be the response?
I've been there, done
You
that.
don't understand what you need. I know what you need, right? Who are you to say? First of all, there'd be a flag, depending what country you're in, a belt as well, but they wouldn't ever come and say, oh, you're so, Bemet, you're right. Let me work on trying to hear you and understand you. But in today's era, things have been shifting, and there's this amazing opening. We see that for a child to tell their parents in a covered way to talk like this is a massive tichat hasharim. It's a massive gate opener. I don't know, I feel like there's newfound humility by certain parents. I'm not talking about those that everything is hefker. I'm talking about those that are really humbled and open enough to realize, you're the greatest gift in the world. The children coming down right before Mashiach is coming are the most refined neshamas. Maybe there's something that I really can only come by you sharing with me about you and not me speculating and thinking and being sure that I figured out who you are and what you need. I feel like that's much more in the air these days than it ever was. Does anyone disagree with that? It's okay if you do. But can anyone else attest to the fact that this is in the air more than definitely when we were children and when our parents were children? Yes.
I want to just lechazek it.
Yeah.
If we can. Everyone said, oh, how are we going to win this war? They're all spoiled brats going into the war. And they became superheroes. Not just heroes, but superheroes.
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that I don't think they became, I think that they always were.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
And then it came
In
out,
our eyes.
bidyuk, and then it came out the bitui, and then it became expressed. 100% correct. So Nashuv,
The only
yeah.
issue is a 12 or 13-year-old will say you don't understand me, but often they don't even know what they want. They're just so confused trying to figure out who they are and which derech. And that's where some of the tzitzuchim come also.
Listen, it could be, but if you're going to leash back at them and say, even if they really don't know what they want, and you say, you don't really know what you want, you killed it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I'm
You
just
killed
saying
it.
that a lot of times they throw it out because
They've said it,
they're
but
in,
guess what? And when you're 40, you really know what you want?
I don't think you ever know what you.
I think you get closer, you have a better idea, but you have to be open to the fact that things can evolve and things could change. As we said in Shul, over Shabbos, the world has never been moving in a faster pace. So there's shifts and there's movements all the time. So it's never, I don't know if we could ever say, and then when you reach the age of so-and-so, you're finally ready to explain to yourself and and those that love you, this is what I want. But definitely the child needs to hear that there's interest. Whether you believe they know what they want or not, the kid needs to see, אכפת, מעניין אתכם, not just אכפת לכם. אכפת לכם means, oh, you care to let me feel heard. מעניין אתכם is a much deeper level, which means I'm actually interested to hear what you have to say. Not, I'm going to show you that I care and give you space. I'm really interested in this. That's a high level. That's a very high level. You could teachers fall into this a lot also. אכפת לי לשמוע מה אתם חושבים, מעניין אותי לשמוע מה אתם חושבים. And a kid, as well as a student, could kind of find out, based on the yachas that's happening in that relationship, is this for real, or they're just trying to make me feel good? So we have a lot to work with what we just said right now. But we have to remember something. And he reminds us here in the second paragraph, נשוב ונדגיש. I'm going to come back and emphasize, במסגרת זו, איננו עוסקים כלל בהורים שאינם אוהבים את ילדיהם כדבעי. Meaning, we're not speaking here about children, the parents, that don't really love their children like as they should. אלא בהורים שאכן אוהבים ומשקיעים רבות בצאצאיהם. We're speaking about parents that love and invest so much in their children. ודווקא משום כך עליהם לדעת, it's דווקא because of this they must know, שהאהבה כלפי הילדים אינה מהווה תחליף לבניית קשר נפשי כפול בין ההורה לחניך. I know this was a lot of Hebrew, but this last sentence is crucial. He said over here like this, we're actually speaking about parents that truly do love and invest, and their heart is fully in it. But they must know that love for their children that they already have is not a substitute for building a kesher nafshi that should be back and forth between parents and children. This is a very profound statement. Does anyone not understand what he just said?
Not at all.
What do you mean?
Love is not a tachlif, but it's a building block. Let's call it that. So
What he's saying is that you could fool yourself in thinking, not you, I'm saying anybody, that you, God forbid, no one personally. What he's saying here is that you could fool yourself into being under the assumption that you really have something with your kid. That is what they need, and it's back and forth, and the love is there. You see each other, you understand each other, you connect to each other, all based on what? Ahavah tiv'it, the first type of love that we spoke about. And he's saying here, that is a big danger. So what kind of parents are we talking about? The ones that are the most beautiful ones, amazing ones, loving ones, like really amazing, exceptional people. But to be under the assumption is a big miss. Wanagit kacha. He's going to say it's not just a miss. It's not just a miss. It could actually mess things up tremendously. Because what happens to the person that thinks that my kid knows I love them? They know I love them. What happens to that parent when eventually that kid says, all you wanted was for me to know that you love me? Were you ever interested in like finding out who I am, or I'm just a product of your actions and thoughts? So kesher nafshi is not a luxury, it's a must. You understand? Kesher nafshi is not a luxury. It's not, oh, some are lucky to have it. Kesher nafshi, without that, the kid is going to look for love in the wrong places, which is our greatest fear as parents, that our children will look for love and affection and being heard and understood in the wrong places. And then we wonder, well, how could it be that they made the same mistake? Well, the kid didn't receive a kesher nafshi growing up. How could they now go out and marry someone that is not giving them that kesher nafshi that they need? They love me, they understand me, because that's all they think they need. And it's crazy, and it repeats itself all the time. Till there's got to be one door that says, let's make it clear. Let's build this like as clear as possible and say, every parent must understand that at a certain age, and he's bringing here the years, the ages, 12 and 13, maybe it's different, it doesn't matter, whatever it is. This is our time now to mamash flip over everything, and I think that this is very Mashiach, because the Navi says, "V'heishiv lev avos al banim v'lev banim al avosam." That's the sign of Mashiach. Eliyahu Navi is coming to tell us Mashiach's coming. V'heishiv lev avot al banim v'lev banim al avotam. What does that actually mean? What does that mean? V'heishiv lev avot al banim v'lev banim al avotam. Kesher nafshi. That's what it means. It means kesher nafshi. This is a sign of Geula. It's a sign of Mashiach. Yeah.
He talks about like young children, but I mean, some people in this room have older children, and it's like those children. I have a 40-year-old son, so it's not like you get to a point that it's only that age. It could be. It's not like you're trying to rectify. It's just to
100%. 100%. It's just that when you're able to do this work when they're younger, it's easier. I'm not going to be, it's just a little bit easier, but ein yeush, 100%. We said that in the first shiur, that even though this may be a shiur that it may sound like, oh, this is more for adolescents, and all the Torah we're learning is really shayach when you could catch them and before they've seen the world and everything. The ekronot of how it works are true for all ages of parenting, 100%. Listen, there are people in the room, they're parents of 40-year-olds, 4 months old, 20-year-olds, like, it's kol hagilayim. It's funny, as I'm learning this, I'm thinking both as a father and as a son. I'm seeing, it's a very interesting experience. It's a very interesting experience. Okay, so now he enhances this point that you could love your kid as much as you want, but if there's no investment in kesher nafshi, that's a danger. Now look what he says in the bottom. ישנם אנשים שקונים מתנות כאות על כך שהם אוהבים את מקבל המתנה. There are people that buy each other gifts. You buy someone a gift as a token of the love that the receiver of the gift, that you have for the receiver of the gift. דבר שמצוי אף בין בני זוג, this is found by couples, ולעיתים מתברר כי אף שבחירת המתנה שנעשתה לאחר שיקול דעת של הנותן, אולם הבחירה נעשתה לפי מה שהוא סבור שחסר למקבל, בשעה שהמקבל היה זקוק לדברים שונים לחלוטין. I don't want to make anyone uncomfortable that's happened to you in your life, either on the receiving or the giving end. But you could feel so good about yourself that you purchased a gift or an item or whatever, a present, towards someone that is for the receiving end. And it's true that the concept of buying a gift came from you, but the bechira of what the person needs also came from you, where it should have come kiviyachol through thinking about them and what they need. Do you hear the difference? Not raising hand times for a shiur, but this is definitely something that happens, right? You were so excited. I got this for you. It's like one time this happened to me after a year of teaching in a certain institution, and the kids that I thought were connecting with me, I could tell it's okay. They got me something at the end of the year because that's what you do, right? But when I looked at the sefer they got me, I looked at them and I said, "You really weren't with me all year, right?" I don't know. I had this moment of it's like you really. I thought we were somewhere. And we were bichlal. we're not in the same place. Huh?
Coffee mugs.
Or like whatever, when a friend buys you a salt and pepper shaker for a wedding gift, you know, things like when something you thought was like so. So what is he? what is he saying over here? Even when we have good kavanas, that's the point here. Even when we had good kavanas, we're still like kind of unaware or assuming that whole piece of, let me find out with the love that I have for the person, let me invest more in what they need and stop thinking about what I think they need. Let me find out more what they need. So listen, in Pnimius HaTorah, what is this called? There's a concept for this. It's called Birur Haratzon, which means to clarify the will. That the will of Hashem should become clearer to you. And that you should become clearer to yourself as to what you want. Now, when you know what the person wants, because they know what they want and they're able to express it, and you find out and you give it to them, that's Gan Eden. It's also called the reality that was in the Beit HaMikdash. Why? Because in the Beit HaMikdash there was a concept that's called He'arat HaRatzon. That means that the will was illuminated. The Ratzon, when you walked into the Beit HaMikdash, the Ratzon was crystal clear. It was very clear. Whose Ratzon was clear? And you. You knew exactly what Hashem wanted, but it came through finally understanding what you want from life as well. And therefore, so whatever, this week is Rav Shlomo's Yortzeit, so these Torahs are like, you know, popping up more. Therefore, on Shabbos, we say, like Shabbos is the time that we have this inyan of Makabel, of Mashpia and Makabel, like exactly what we're speaking about, but in like the closest we'll get it till Mashiach comes. And on Shabbos we say, V'anchileinu Hashem Elokeinu, that Hashem give us our nachla. What? What's our nachla? Be'ahavah u'veratzon. Hashem, show me what I really love, and show me what I really want. That's what Rav Shlomo explained based on Rabbi Nachman, that thing we say every single Shabbos, right? V'anchileinu Hashem Elokeinu be'ahavah u'veratzon. All a parent wants to give over to their children is that they feel love and they feel a ratzon from their parents to get to know their kid. That's all a child wants. This is everything. And you can't fake it, right? You can't fake. This doesn't mean, by the way, that this means that you should let everything go as long as the kid knows. I'm talking about mitachat lifnei hashetach, like beneath the surface. What's lying beneath the surface of all this kesher nafshi talk? Yeah, Sarah.
It's not so on topic. It's fine.
Okay, if it comes back later, that's fine.
Question, but it's
Mea achuz. Now look at the end of the second line over here. Ha'im kniyata matana shenaaset mechmat ahavah mochicha sheyesh lanoten kesher nafshi kaful im hatzad hasheni. Does the purchase of the gift, which originated from love, does it prove that there's a kesher nafshi with the other side? No. התשובה הברורה היא לא. שהרי ילד שקונים לו מתנה כאשר הוא בגיל שנה וחצי, כמובן שאין זה מורה על כך שיש כאן קשר נפשי כפול. It's not a both. You buy a kid a toy when they're 18 months old. That doesn't prove, and they enjoy it, that doesn't prove that there's a mutual kesher nafshi going on at the same time. כאשר אדם מעוניין לפתח קשר עם חבר חדש, when a person wants to develop a new relationship with a new friend, תחילה הוא עורך עמו היכרות. So first you get to know the person. וככל שההיכרות הולכת ומתחזקת, the stronger the getting to know each other goes, האהבה ביניהם הולכת ומתחזקת. The love they have for each other goes and gets stronger. ואם כן, הבסיס של ההיכרות הוא המוביל לאהבה. So the base of getting to know each other is what leads to love. That's true not by parents and children necessarily. This is true by friends, by relationships, other types of relationships. לעומת זאת, הקשר עם הילדים נבנה הפוך. The relationship with children is built opposite. תחילה יש את האהבה הראשונית שמוטבעת בנפשם. First there's that initial love that's embedded in their soul. ואף שאהבה מצד ההורים תמיד תהיה רבה יותר, even though the love from the parents will always be greater. Skip the next thing. אולם אף לילדים ישנה אהבה טבעית כלפי הוריהם, but still, there is natural love children have for their parents. But only afterwards, ולאחר מכן עליהם לפתח קשר של היכרות. It's only after the love is there, do they have the love coming from the parents, there's a need for a development of a kesher nafshi. And this is something, like we said before, makes it much easier for later on in life. דבר המקל משמעותית בבניית קשר נפשי המבוסס על הדדיות בין ההורים לילדיהם. This is something that makes it much easier to build a soul connection, which is based on mutuality between parents and children. עם זאת, כמובן שלהשגת תוצאות חיוביות בחינוך, it's clear that to reach positive and good results when it comes to education, אין די בקשר של היכרות בלבד. It's not enough just to know each other, אלא רק כאשר הוא משולב עם האהבה. How do you say משולב? Intertwined, yeah. When it's intertwined with love, בכוחו לסייע בהעברת המסרים והתכנים כדבעי. This is amazing. Every parent will always have a lot that they want to give over to their children. He's saying over here, the goal over here of developing the kesher nafshi is not just to rely on, connecting to each other by hearing each other's interests and by caring about each other, but that which you wish to truly give over to your child, when it's combined, when it's intertwined with love and a kesher nafshi, that's the way the things that you want to give over to your children will go in. And maybe this is what the pasuk really means when it says, "Chinuch lamar api darko, gam ki yazkin lo yasur mimena," which means that when you're able to develop a kesher nafshi with each child in accordance to where they are and what they need and what interests them, and there's love in it, because there's the natural love that's combined with the kesher nafshi, that which gets then transferred to the children through teaching, through educating, through examples, gam ki yaskin, even when they get older and they get out of the house, lo yasur mimena, they'll never go astray from what was received in such a pure, beautiful way of receiving. They'll always stay with them. Always. That's the dream. What's that?
It's the funnel, and it all went in.
Because it's amazing that you're saying that, because it's like, he used that word so much in the beginning to ingrain into us that you need a funnel. Then he dropped it, and he's talking about this kesher nafshi, which maybe he'll say you'll see here, he will say later on that this really is the funnel. The kesher nafshi is the funnel for that which you know, not just you want to give over to your children, you're chayav to give over to your children. This is a mitzvah saseh. This is not like, it's nice if it works out. You have to keep Shabbos, yeah. You also have to educate your children. Without getting into all the machloket between men and women and parents, mothers and fathers, and teaching. It's on all of us. This inyan is on all of us. And I'm sure that even if it wasn't a mitzvah, this is something we would treat as Kodesh Kodashim anyway. But of course it is. This is the funnel. It's called the kesher nafshi. It'll be very hard for things to really seep in. Now this doesn't guarantee anything right now, because you have to figure out how this works individually with each child. And it sounds exhausting, but it's really worthwhile. And it can be even very fun at certain times in life too. Very, very fun. Because you don't feel, if you're a teacher, and you hear this, you're like, you mean I have to basically teach my whole life and all day? No, because it's not like a teacher in a classroom. You go into this place of a kesher nafshi with children, and the way of teaching becomes so organic and natural and received. Before you know it, the receiver wants to hear more of what you have to offer. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Okay, let's continue a little bit. So here, mechila from the shrinks in the room. Okay, are there any therapists? Yeah. Yael, I wonder how you'll take the next paragraph. No. He's not bashing. This is not a bashing. It's just, it's interesting how he puts certain things into context. I'd actually be interested in what you think about this. I didn't mean that. I mean, I'm always interested in what you have to say. Just here, definitely, because of the next paragraph. הוכחה לדבר. A proof. ישנם יועצים פסיכולוגיים שיושבים עם מטופלים שלהם כמה עשרות פגישות ומכירים אותם היטב. You have psychologists that sit with their clients. Clients is a bad word. That sit with the people that come to them for help, for a number. He says עשרות, tens of meetings, and they get to know them pretty well. ובכל זאת אינם מסוגלים לסייע להם לצאת מהסבך הנפשי בו הם מצויים. And even though they know them, they're not able to take the person out of the svach. Svach means like the mess, the inner mabul that they're in. מדוע? How come? מכיוון שאותם פסיכולוגים, not all פסיכולוגים, he says those types of psychologists we're talking about right now, הם אנשי רוח שכליים קרים. This is interesting. How would you say this? אנשי רוח שכליים קרים.
Cold intellectuals?
But there's one more word.
Spirits?
Yeah, so there's like, it's interesting that if it was just cold intellectual, that I'd understand, but because he says they're אנשי רוח שכליים קרים,
That doesn't mean like full of air. Like if you translate it that
Yeah,
word nicely,
it could
like
just be
spiritual.
philosophical.
It sounds more like they're following the textbook. Have to do A, B, and C, and they're not listening to the patient. They're just following the steps.
and they know, but the point is that they've also gotten to know the person. They're not talking to to a stranger.
Right.
They've
But
gotten
they're
to
still-
know.
they're not-
What's that? So here he says like this, שאומנם ברשותם ידע רב והבנה בנפש האדם. As a cloud, they've learned the anatomy of the brain, right? Or even the anatomy of the soul. They've learned the nefesh of the Adam, like begadol, how it works. ואף ייתכן שהם יכולים לחלק עצות שונות. They could even give different pieces, words of counsel and advice. אולם אין להם רגש כלפי המטופל. But they don't have regesh. They don't have an emotional sense of the one that they're treating. Now, in some schools of thought, they would say that's actually healthy. They shouldn't have. You can get too sucked into it like that, and then it'll blind you. He's not saying what's right or wrong, bad or good. He's describing a reality. Okay? ולכן אין די בידע שלהם לסייע לו. So therefore, it's not enough. They don't have enough in their knowledge. Their knowledge can only get them so far, so they can't really help the person that needs a certain type of help. לעומת זאת, on the other way, right? On the other flip side of the coin, לעומת זאת, אצל הורים רבים, המצב הוא הפוך. By many parents, the situation is completely opposite. יש להם אהבה ורגש כלפי ילדיהם. They got so much love and emotions for their children, אבל אין להם קשר נפשי והבנה אמיתית של צרכיהם. But they don't really have a true and real understanding of what their children need. ולכן אף שוודאי יש להם בסיס חיובי איתן ויציב, even though they definitely have a positive and rock solid base for their love for their children, אולם מבסיס בלבד, only with going with what you have as a base, which is natural love, לא ניתן לבנות את אישיותו של הילד. So now he just revealed what he feels is one of the avodas of parents. And what is that? Character building. Character building. Now, this is a very interesting mahalach that some would say that's not, you're here to help your kid develop the way that they'll naturally do and everything. I don't think that he's saying over here it's on you to create what your child looks like. But Hashem trusted this child to grow up in your arms. And Hashem didn't make a mistake. And this is what we have to always come back to when we're learning these things. You can learn all the different shitot of what works or what doesn't work, but we, I'm a parent, all of us have to always come back to the emunah shlema that Hashem did not make a mistake by giving us the children that we have. He also didn't give us the children that we have so that we mold them to our perfect mold of what makes sense to us. as a mutzlach kid, as a successful child. And I just want to say I credit my mother a lot over here, because none of us turned out the way that, not that they didn't try to mold us at all, but what my mother always says is that each of us came out very different, and also not necessarily what the home could have molded us to be like, if that makes any sense. But that's actually, she loves that, sincerely. I think she always did, actually. I don't remember, like I would bring home, my God, in Los Angeles, I would bring home people that if I didn't bring them home, we would cross the street if we were walking down the same street, okay? Some of this chaver that I'd meet like on the beach in Venice Beach, or in campus in Santa Monica College, and all this chaver, right? I wasn't bringing home chaver that like, you know, would be, we'd be proud to have them join on family vacations, you understand? But it was like, it opened up something, and then my brother, with his derech, opened up something, and my sisters, kamuvan. And that's a wonderful thing, it's a beautiful thing. Hashem doesn't, by giving you the child that Hashem gave you, Aleph doesn't mean it wasn't a mistake. But Bet, it also means, it doesn't mean that they're going to come out looking like you, nor should they. But see, what I think it really means from all this is that in all cases, kesher nafshi must be, in order for what? For this child to have the best chance at life. When we say being the best version of them, that means reaching full potential in their character, in their ishiyut. And you see kids that have characters, that their character, right? Everyone wants to be around them because they have something about them. And the more that you get to know that, the more that you show interest in that ishiyut of that child, the more the child almost also is with you and being like, wow, maybe it is kedai to get to know me. If the vice of God, which is my parent, is interested in knowing me, maybe it's kedai that I should get to know myself as well. But if that's not, and again, that's resulting from kesher nafshi, but if that's not going to be something that we put energy in, it's not just that we miss out, it's that chalila, bad stuff start happening. This is not to freak anybody out or to make anyone feel guilty. Torah hi v'lilmod ota anu tzrichim. This is learning Torah. So just take a deep breath with the next paragraph, okay? הורה שאינו בונה את החינוך של ילדיו על בסיס קשר כפול, התוצאה תהיה שהוא לא יבין את צרכיו האמיתיים של הילד, ולכן בוודאי שהוא יחטיא את המטרה. He's saying over here that a parent that doesn't build the world of chinuch of their children on the basis of a kesher nafshi, the result will be that you will never come to understand what your children really need. And then what will be the end result of you as a parent in the form of like shooting a free throw? You miss. Doesn't mean you didn't shoot the free throw. Shooting the free throw means you tried something. You had a kid, you tried something. אבל יש החטאה. You missed it. You missed the point. ובעומק, deeper, הורה שמחנך את ילדיו הבוגרים על בסיס אהבה ורגש לבד, הרי שהוא מתייחס אליהם בדרך שמתאימה לגיל הינקות בלבד. And if you don't tap into this kesher nafshi, and you say, my kid just needs to be pampered and loved, you're going to end up treating them like a toddler when they're 14. And that's not what they need. That's not what they need either. כמובן שלא שייך להתייחס לילדים בוגרים כפי שמתייחסים לתינוקות. And he's saying, of course, we don't treat kids at an older age in life the way that they're treated like a baby. Sometimes I do this with some of my older kids, and I'll start talking to them like I'm talking to our baby. We should stop. It's not cute. They don't. But I'm thinking because it's exactly what he said. It's like not even as funny. It's not even. They're looking at you and like this is not arousing anything needed that anyone in this room needs right now. It's not my need, you know. We think no, a kid still needs, like 12-year-old still needs to feel like that kind of unconditional ahavah tiv'it, like her baby sister. No, they don't. They need to feel that on the level of where they're at right now in life, but not like they're 16-month-old, 15-month-old, 14-month-old baby's sister. הורה שיש לו קשר נכון עם ילדיו, a parent that has the right kesher with his children, הרי שיש לו du-siach עמם. That means you have a conversation, a du-siach. Siach means conversation, du means two-way. שבאמצעותו יקלו לחנכם בדרך הישר. Through this two-way conversation, it'll be easier to be מחנך your children on the right path. אולם כאשר הקשר אינו בנוי נכון, but when the kesher is not built properly, המצב שנוצר הוא שההורה מחלק כאין הוראות מלמעלה, והוא אף מגדירם כחינוך. Says what happens when the kesher is not built properly? The situation that's created is that a parent is like giving out orders from above, and it's falling under the category of chinuch. Now, in our minds, or in our parents' minds, that was the way. I'm here, you're here, that's the way Hashem created it. I'm saying what's going to be, this is chinuch. Then you have this door of chutzpah of sitra achra, not the chutzpah of kedosha, chutzpah that completely rebelled with that world, and they just dropped loads of acid and moved to Berkeley, into San Francisco in the 60s. It was coming from a very righteous place to get as far away as possible as this horrific relationship between parents and children. And then their children, well, many of them are my friends, are kind of coming back and saying, you know, it doesn't have to be the extremes, yeah. It doesn't have to be the extremes. Bottom paragraph. Now look what he says here. This is very special. He speaks about the Chafetz Chaim a lot through his farm. We would see the Chafetz Chaim a lot when we're learning Bilvavi Mishkan Evne. I don't know, whenever I see something about the Chafetz Chaim, I always feel better right afterwards. ישנם זיכרונות שכתב רב חיים לייב, בנו של החפץ חיים. אגב, כאשר we have memories that the Chafetz Chaim's son wrote down about what it was like to grow up in his house. אגב, כאשר נרצה לבדוק כיצד נראה אדם גדול, when we want to learn what a big person looks like, נוכל ללמוד זאת מהנהגותיו השונות. We can learn from his different ways of behavior. אולם כאשר נרצה לדעת את היחס והקשר בין גדולי הדור לבניהם, but when we want to know about the relationship of גדולים and their children, אפשר לשמוע זאת מילדיהם. You could hear from the children. The parents aren't going to talk about it. Right? The kid will talk about it. And he said, ושם הוא מספר, שהיחס של החפץ חיים לבניו היה יחס של חברות. The Chafetz Chaim's son said this, that the relationship was a relationship of friendship. That's what the kids grew up feeling from the Chafetz Chaim. הרי שרק הקשר ההדדי שבו הילד מרגיש כידיד עם הוריו, בנוסף לכך שהוא מרגיש את הוריו כהורים מלשון הוראה, הוא המתכון להצלחה בחינוך. מתכון means recipe. He says the recipe for a success in the world of chinuch is when the following happens. When a child feels both chaverut and feels, these are my parents. And in Hebrew, the word for a parent is moreh. He's saying it, that comes from the lashon of hora'ah, which means to teach. And when they're both there and they're working in harmony and simultaneously, he says, this is the matkon. This is really the proper recipe. So what we need to do is to continue to develop the proper recipe. It's amazing. This is a very small sefer, and we're at the beginning of a very small sefer. He has a lot here. A lot of very, I would say, they're thought-provoking ideas. And they're, again, it doesn't have to be that everything he's saying is either like for sure yes or for sure no. But as we're under Mahalach, to try to refine which is most important to us, which is our relationship with our kinderlach, at any age that they're in, things start to take a tzura, things start to take a form. Because I'm sure that you've had I'm sure, you don't have to raise your hand, I'm sure that over the last kimat hour, you've had so many thoughts about different children. You've had so many thoughts about yourself as a child. This is the type of Torah we want to learn. Torah that's going to make us think about, in my life, where is it in my life? With the ratzon and bittul, to get over all the how could you do this to me, God, to remove ourselves from victim consciousness and be right now chadashim, feel fresh and believe that we could overcome any previous handicap that prevented us from thinking new, from feeling new and having a new approach and attitude. Just, Yael, no, we're good, right? Because he didn't, right? Because he wasn't giving a hachlala. He says, yeshnam. There are those. Okay, Shavua Tov, everybody. Only good news.